All right. Good morning. Good morning. It is 6:32. It is September 22nd. It's the first day of fall. Happy fall. Hopefully everyone's feeling well. Had a good weekend. Got your mind right. Did a little fitness. Got outside. It was nice and crisp in the Northeast. I think a lot of people are feeling good. Market's been, moving. There's been a lot of nice setups, nice plays out there. Hopefully you've been catching them. A lot of you guys were part of my open house last week and made some really good money and now part of the Alpha team. So congrats for those of you who joined. We're just going to keep moving forward and keep doing what we're doing. My name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com, founder of Red Dog Mindset. This is the 630 Club. We've been doing it since 2020. Hopefully you're enjoying it, making some money. If you are, make sure to subscribe above to the Red Dog Mindset so you can get grandfathered in, because you might be losing this in the next few months. But either which way, here we are today. At this point, some people are like, hey, Red Dog, why are we down? Well, what are we down? 15 handles. Spies had, or the S&P had like $5 billion to buy into the close for the quad witching. So pulling down a little bit, down $1.50 is not the end of the world. At this point, we want to see, do the trends continue? Do the sequences stay intact? Do the speed change? Well, that's our job to see. So right now, you have 660-ish. This is your 8-day moving average. Remember when we came in, I'm like, will we hold the 8-day? That was in the beginning of September because everyone said September is going to be so bad. But meanwhile, we held and made new highs. So I'd say as long as we hold this 660-ish area, the trend could be intact. Maybe you could buy dips and you can continue to rotate through, a lot of great names. And we've had a lot of them. Here's the cues. This is your big trend from the bottom in March. And here we are. So you want to take a little closer look. As long as look where the 8-day is moving up. As long as you hold, what is this, 590, 593-ish. It's hard to get too bearish. Look at that trend. That trend is super strong. Listen, there's a lot of things working, a lot of things not working. Some people are like, Red Dog, it's been frustrating. I'm in the wrong things. I'm like, if you're in the wrong things, you got to move around. A lot of people have been hyper focused on this Amazon, and Amazon has just not been good. Amazon is, something you want to have on your list. So, I talk about the A, B, C, and D list out of my go-to list, and Amazon's been in the corner of my eye. I have been buying some 240 calls for October 3rd, but that's just one play. It hasn't triggered. It hasn't shown itself. It's just wedging, and it could wake up, and when it does, we'll be all over there, but it's not the money trade. The money trade's been Tesla. Tesla's been absolutely fantastic. If you remember, we went after Tesla right around here. It was a power play option. Fantastic, and basically took out 357, had a move, digesting. Looks like it's going to continue above this 432. I think Elon and the president broke the internet by sitting together. Oh my God, they're friends. Anyway. So at this point, if you were in Tesla, you're in a lot better mood. Tesla's been absolutely fantastic. Look at that. Tesla's even up 350 while the spies are down $1.50. So you're not even taking any pain. So I'm in the stock. I'm in 440 calls for this Friday. We'll see what happens. Can it add above this or does it need more time? But Tesla's been absolutely fantastic. It's been great. Has the trade changed with Rivian? I'm in Rivian, but again, I'm not focused on Rivian. Rivian is not an A setup. Rivian is just a complementary trade that hasn't really been doing great, just hovering in here. It's so funny, there's some guys out there that you have to know, if you're going to be in multiple positions, there are positions that are trades and there are positions that are incubating and ready to go. This is just sitting here. Rivian has not been great. So if you've been in Rivian because you missed Tesla, you're not in them both. Or you're very frustrated. So you got to do a little bit of everything. So this is fine. It was a little weaker on Friday. It didn't act great. But, look at this Pony. Pony was very similar. Everyone was so mad at me about Pony, in here. Oh, Pony, Red Dog, what about Pony? What about Pony? What about Pony? I'm like, well, it's obviously not ready yet. It's a little frustrating. And then boom. Okay. So, you have to have something in there, whether it's options, you have to have a little vested interest. So you're watching it for when it goes. And if you remember, right here, this was September 9th. That's when I got hyper focused on it again because NBIS was waking up. The whole group was waking up. So we bought it here and then it went sideways. I remember this week too. Like, what about Pony? I'm like, well, it's looking pretty good. You're having some commitment to this day one. And I took more options and then that happened. Fantastic. And I've been saying it's going to get back to 20 plus. And look at that trade. That trade was absolutely fantastic. Hopefully, you guys made a ton of money. Today could probably digest a little bit. I'm going to roll up my options, go further out and buy the 20s because I think I had the 15s and the 16s and they did absolutely awesome. Yes, ASTS. I told you guys I was buying more ASTS and I was buying in here. That was a great, this was, I think, what we say last week. ASTS seemed to find some buyers into the lower level support. We'll see if it could bounce towards 42.50. Wow, I'm back to 46. So I think I have to wait for my options to load. But I was buying a decent amount of options, 2 sets. So that was great. And now there's some news on it. So if you're in ASTS, congratulations. These things are, going and rebuilding. I will say now's not the time to start buying quantum names. If you guys remember, I gave you guys IONQ here. This was when the time was to buy IONQ. This was the time to look at the group and say, hey, if IONQ breaks out above 48.30, maybe QUBT will go, QBTS will go, RGTI will go. And boy, did they go. We'll get to crypto and that kind of stuff. So, big move. It's up, it's down a little bit. I would think this needs a little bit of time to relax. Let it relax a little bit. But anyway, big move there. Big move in QBTS. Look at that. A little bit, if you, wow, what a friggin' move. Look at this. QUBT just went. That's why traders like groups. You have a leader, and then if the leader continues, everyone's like, what's next? So you got to look for the good setups. And this was great. RGTI was great. I can't believe how early I was with this. I was in here, in the 17 area, and then got away from it a little bit. I think somewhere around here. But anyway, you don't have to be in, the entire move for all moves. Careful. ASTS cause their sisters are down today. Well, the news was with ASTS. It wasn't with Rocket Labs. It wasn't with those guys. I will trim. I always trim when a gap is in my favor. So now you could totally. Let's see, where would there be resistance? I think you could right around here would be a spot. But it was nice. I actually trimmed a lot. I trimmed a lot of that into the end of the day. So I'm pretty small anyway. Nuke and Quantum names were the big winners last week. That's true, Jay. So each week you have to follow the money and figure out where the flows are going. And Quantum was big for us. I think everyone who was in my alpha team last week or the last 2 weeks have done really, really well. They're all at the highs of the year. Me too. I'm well through the highs of my year. Working on a good quarter. Today we'll see. It'll be a little tricky. I do have a little Ethereum on. So here's the thing. Everyone's like, Red Dog, what's the matter with crypto? My crypto never has a good September. Crypto, they call it October because it usually has a bad September. And then usually you get the big run in crypto from November through Thanksgiving. So on September 22nd, they got to shake it up. And if you look here, the market closed strong. Look how Ethereum closed on Friday. So it gave you some clues. You better have a little less on. And I'll tell you, IBIT also, look how that closed. So there's always clues out there if you're not wearing crypto, infused glasses or this and that, or if you trade for a living. I would think that by Thanksgiving, Bitcoin is going to be well through 70, but for right now, it could be in this range for a few more weeks. So you have to be a little careful. So, for those of you who just what's the matter with crypto? It's September. Crypto is not great in September. Anyway, crypto and the Jets. The poor Jets, I'll tell you. Yeah, poor Jet fans. Meanwhile, they're losing by 2 points. So even the first game of the season, they were pretty good, and then they just lost. Anyway, highs for a year. So, all right. So, by the way, everyone could talk to the Red Dog in here. So this is if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, MLD is part of the Alpha team. Ken just joined. Congratulations, Ken. You've been trying to add a lot of value, which is great. I'm taking him for a red dog sandwich Thursday. Promised him. A lot of guys are asking me about BMNR. If Ethereum's down, BMNR is going to be down. It's supposed to be, the treasury company for that. Plus, look at the move. This is when I was telling you guys to buy it. Probably could buy. Probably needs to see the 8-day, and you got to see what Ethereum does here. So it's fine. Mark Chow says, look at this Sound Weekly. Okay, I could do that. SOUN. I like this name at times. SOUN. Yeah, this looks good. If this trade continues, the baby, Sound AI looks pretty good. What's it doing today? Is it up, down, sideways? It's down 17 cents, not so bad. Remember Serve? Last week I was telling you guys to buy Serve. That was a nice move. And look at the leader. NBIS is the leader. Okay, NBIS. This is looking pretty tasty right here. How high did it get? So I'm going to watch this today. I'm long NBIS, and we made a lot of money with the options. That was one thing we were doing correctly in the Alpha team. Is every time NBIS went down last week, I was buying options, and we were making like 40% in the options besides being in the stock. I would watch it for today. That if the market hangs in there, this probably trades through 100, and you can get a nice day trade. So and then if NBIS, by the way, if some of you guys are in it versus 86 to 88, that's the gap pivot play. Others, trading around it, and I'm definitely going to be watching this to see if that can get through 150. If it does, the whole group, stays good. Anyway, Hood's probably going to be down a little bit with crypto, but Hood looks pretty good. Hood had to buy and balance into the close. But again, when Bitcoin's down, Ethereum's down, it's caught in that basket. So you could probably buy a dip there. I think Tiger's the worst. TIGR has just not been good. But anyway, Baba still looks good. Baba above the 8-day trending. Baidu still looks good. JD, it's a little bit of a pain. Give you a little bit of a red dog reversal here. So hopefully, if you use a red dog reversal, what's it called? You sold some. We were buying the $33 calls here, and then I've been managing it all the way up into this move. I'll probably go out and roll up some more calls. I have not added once to any strength in JD because JD is just, it's not great. It's been trending and fine, but I'll probably buy a little bit more options further out. Dash has been pretty good. You can't be upset about Dash. Trending along. It's not powerful, but it's doing just fine. Grab was my better play. Grab, if you remember, we tried playing Grab, which is like the Dash of whatever it's called, of Europe, and I was buying the 550 calls in here. That was a huge winner. This whole move to me in some of these small caps and this and that is kind of reminiscent of 2021. I saw some guys write some reports about, I remember 2020, 2021 was probably the best trading ever. I think I made my biggest year of my career because there was like all these groups that were moving very well and getting some follow through. A day one and giving you a day 4, and we were holding 30 positions and massaging them. Some people like, hey, it's Southeast Asia. All right, whatever it is, it's been great. This has been a great trade. So that's been great. You look at the weekly chart. I'm a cocktail napkin technician. I'm not into specifics. I look at lines. I look at charts. They go, I go. I don't ask that many questions. I have too many things going on, and then if the market continues and acts poorly, I reduce. If the market acts poorly, it acts better, I increase. If you guys remember Art Cashin, one of the best cocktail napkin technicians in the world, he would say, if the market goes up and your stocks don't go up, trim some. That means you're not in the right names. Market goes down, your stocks holding well, add to them because they're the ones showing relative strength when they go up. It's that easy. But anyway, Grab headquartered in Singapore. Okay, are you long it, Lorenzo? Since you're so savvy in the Grab specifics, but this looks like it's on its way to 740. JD slightly negative for growth stocks like JD Baba Kewa as a whole, as investors were hoping for a stronger stimulative consumption. All right, whatever that is. Anyhow, so that's Grab. UAVS. Someone asked me about that one. UAVS is just a small little. I don't even know. So maybe someone can give me the specifics there. Aerial systems. Someone told me that there's a small chance that they're going to be included in the Iron Dome type revamp or whatever. It's such a bad socket split so many times you can't even see the action. So this is it's not a focus. So basically, UMAC is making a nice move. So we talk about like the food chain, right? So let's get back to the daily here. So this is UMAC. Okay, I was telling you guys to buy it in here. Okay, and this is I think Don Jr.'s company maybe, and it's looking great. So when names like this are on the move, like Joby, look at the move Joby had. That was a nice move, rebuilding. So when the sector starts to go and act really well, everyone starts to look down the food chain on what else could do well. So with that being said, I'm in Joby and I'll buy a dip. I think I'm in UMAC calls. I got to look. So UAVS was just something, something that I said, hey, you know what? Let me buy a little bit of this just in case it continues. Same thing with BBAI. So you want to talk about the food chain, right? So if you look here, first one on the food chain, okay, is NBIS. That to me is the leader of it all, and it's acting great. So when you have that acting great, then you had Pony AI, which is acting fantastic with a little bit of a China switch. There's some news on it. So, so you have NBIS acting awesome, Pony acting awesome. Then I'm like, hey, you know what? If everyone's making money on all those guys, maybe all the congressmen members that are buying BBAI, maybe it moves down the food chain. Okay, and it's starting to. So maybe you could buy a dip here. So that was the same thought process in quantum. You had IONQ was the first one. IONQ is the first one. Went, took out the highs, had follow through. So then the other ones that weren't as good start to trade and come down the food chain. So you always got to look at groups. Anyway, John Boston. Hello, Scott. Do you have any hedges on? I have I sold SPY premium. So I have a small hedge on, not a big one. I've been selling premium into strength. I haven't been buying puts because you haven't been able to make money in puts. Oh, TM, yes. TM also is in the food chain. Ooh, look how nice this looks. It's right back up to highs. Let this hold here for a little bit more, and that probably goes. Yes, this to me is in the same arena and up in the food chain. That looks great. So we'll see. Palantir I haven't really been that focused on, but what a nice move. Rebuilt really fast. So again, look how many different things we've mentioned here in 20 minutes. Just goes to show you how much action there is. Just goes to show you how prepared you have to be. Just goes to show you how you have to be mind right. That's why we have Red Dog Mindset. I've already been up since 4:45 this morning. I put together the morning. I was in a sauna with 300 of my best friends and did a 20-minute workout talking about names, sweating it out to a nice playlist, getting ready, thinking about what do I have, what can I add, what needs to hold, what could I sell, what are we doing here? And that's the key. The key is making sure your mind is right so you can execute when stocks trigger. Everyone looks at the same patterns. They have the same tier system, the same day count rules, but not everyone makes money. Why is that? Got to think maybe they tried too many times in the past. They have too much size. They can't handle it. Maybe their dog is keeping them up at night, whatever it is. Anyway, Netflix. What's Netflix doing? Somebody asked me. Netflix, I don't really trade that much either. It's kind of tight. It's looking decent. What's it doing this morning? Down 5, 12.20. All right. Again, Netflix to me trades by appointment. Netflix to me is a tougher. It's either you have to give this thing a ton of room, or not, because it just doesn't. It doesn't trade like a Tesla. Doesn't trade like an Amazon. Doesn't trade where like you can really see what's happening during the day there. So anyway, if you're long Netflix, you'd be long versus 1204, and then see if you can get above this. Or there are some guys that caught the Red Dog reversal when it went below 1182, came back above it. Anyway, you guys see the Charlie Sheen show? Pretty cool. I watched it last night, the first episode with my wife. Anyway, that looks all right. Again, I don't think you should look. Don't lose sight of Tesla. I know that we made really good money. It was a friggin' awesome money trade right here, but I'm going to stay with it and keep rolling it higher. I think Tesla's, going to stay in play, and there's going to be lots of ways to buy options, trade this stock, create spreads, maybe even sell some naked puts and stay with this name. There's a big event no one's even talking about in November 7th. So I'm going to stay with this one. You know what? They're probably lower. Some of the miners are lower. If crypto's lower, some of the miners are lower. Can I look at coin? Yeah, coin, perked up, went into the gap. This gap is now higher. It's probably lower. I would think that this needs to hold right here. What is this? This is like 333-ish. But again, this is not crypto time. Everyone's like reaching for crypto. It's just this is not the time when crypto gets frisky and fun. We like frisky and fun, don't we? Frisky and fun. And that's not crypto right now. That's gold. Gold is frisky and fun right now. Look at gold. Look how this held the 8-day, trending after a big breakout move. I just found my call spread that I had on finally left. I had it maxed out, but the gold is frisky and fun. Now, Bitcoin and Ethereum aren't frisky and fun right now. That's more of an October, November situation. But gold has been trading really well. Anyway, with that being said, guys, it's 6:53. Let's see what kind of weakness is bought. Let's see if the SPYs can hold. Let's see, as long as the SPYs, like I said before, can hold this 660 area or above. Trends are strong. You could buy dips. You could trade around names and continue to net money and move on. If you love this 630 Club, you should subscribe to the Red Dog Mindset, because if you don't have any of the products, chances are in the months ahead, you're not going to be able to watch a 630 Club anymore. To be honest, I might even leave all of public Twitter and just turn it into one big subscription, because I'm getting so sick of these bots. I'm getting so sick of not being able to communicate with those who I want to communicate. I do a tweet, and then there's like 45 bots attached to it about somebody who made someone turn $100 into 5 million. Or this person's great, or that person's great. It's like, I don't want to deal with any of these bots anymore. I want, people to be in my community that I trust, that I can give them quality information, make them money, and they're committed to work ethic and preparation. And and for them, $10 is nothing. It's like 30 cents a day. If you're not willing to spend $10 a month, to get a 20-minute video and charts and lifestyle and this and that, then you probably don't need to be in my community anyway. Most of you are in multiple things. You're in the alpha team. You're in this. But anyway, with that being said, Twitter has become a little bit of a tough place to navigate, because I'll do a tweet and I can't even see who wants to talk to me because all the bots attached to them. So here's the Qs. Qs also just a little extended, but we'll see. Does the Qs hold above Friday's low, or does it have to test the gap right here? If it breaks Friday's low, it could get a little sloppier, and you just have to be a little bit more careful. All right, guys. Tesla has broken through all major resistance points, cleared a 500. So Kenneth says Tesla's going to be 500. All right. Well, if it's going to get to 500, if Tesla's going to get to 500, what does it have to do? Get above and stay above 432 first and hold 411. I like to frame trades. I don't just put things out there. I frame them so you can measure your risk and you can navigate a tier system and make more money. That's what I'm here to do for you guys. All right. Subscribe above, tune in, and I'll see everyone on the Alpha team. It's time for me to do my 40 charts. Later, guys.